Yes, it's the one you've all been asking for. I'm excited, you're excited. Wait for it. Woo! Hello there champs, today I'm going to have a look at the Razer Blade 15 with the Intel 8th generation CPU. This is my gaming review. I will have a few reviews on it, so make sure you sub to see those. And as always, if you like my videos, slap me a like there. So you want to upgrade that Windows Home to Windows Pro, or just get killer prices on Windows Office 2016 and cheap gaming keys, head on down to 009, make sure you copy and paste my code from the description to get a price that's going to make you go woo! So the Razer Blade 15 is a premium 15-inch laptop. We're talking 17.3mm thin, very thin and light package. It's supposed to be the thinnest and lightest 15-inch gaming laptop, and probably is. But with something so thin and light, housing super powerful parts, is it actually any good for gaming? Will it be able to cool them parts down? Well, let's find out. First of all, what makes this a great gaming laptop is the specs, of course. 144Hz 1080p display, awesome. There is a 4K option, but if you're a gamer, you want that 144Hz display. Super buttery smooth. Intel's 8th generation 8750H processor, that's clocked at 2.2 GHz, can go up to 3.9 all-core boost and up to 4.1 max boost there. It also houses a GTX 1070, 8GB GTX 1070 Max Q, so this is for serious gamers. Also has 16 gigs RAM and it has one M.2 SSD in there, and this one happens to be a 512GB. So as you can see, absolute beast gaming specs here, especially for something so thin and light. Of course, being so thin and light, there is a price to pay. It does get warm and it does get loud. All gaming laptops get loud, so this should be no surprise to you, but it does get a bit warm underneath. Like I measured up to 54 degrees in the middle underneath, so you won't want to have this on your lap there. As for the noise, most people that game on these laptops have headsets anyway, so the noise probably won't be that much of an issue, but I'm yet to see a gaming laptop that is not loud. And how could I forget, it also has an Rgb keyboard, and yeah, this is probably the best Rgb keyboard out there. Razor sharp light, and that was no pun, like seriously, this is really bright. Now it doesn't come with Ethernet, so some gamers might be disappointed with that. You can use an adapter, of course, and it doesn't have a number pad. I prefer it without it, so I'm happy with the keyboard like this. It also has USB 3.0 Type A's and Thunderbolt 3, of course. So what you want to know is how this games, and just on the performance front, I could get this actually to burst all 4 cores at 3.9 GHz only for a short period when I did tweak it with XTU. And when I was gaming, it never throttled at all. And what I mean by it never throttled, it never went under the base clock of the GPU and CPU. There was thermal management. A package this thin with this sort of hardware, there is going to be thermal management, and it did reach 100 degrees on the CPU side. The actual wattage output of the CPU would reduce when the temperatures got higher. So, you know, it'd start off at 45 watts, go down to 35 when it got a bit hotter. Once it got into the 90s, near 100, I've seen it go down to about 25 watts. But most importantly, it never throttled. Never went under base clock, GPU or CPU, so don't worry about that. You're getting pretty much the maximum gaming performance out of the thin and light package. I mean, there are some bigger, thicker gaming laptops that will get more out of this sort of spec, but for this thin and light form factor, it gets the maximum out of it. So anyway, let's get onto the benchmark. So all these benchmarks were 1080p high settings. So with Fortnite high settings, 138 frames per second, pretty much near the 144Hz limit of the display. So that's great. PUBG, 87 frames per second high settings. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, 90 frames per second at high settings. Now this is weird. This is the first time I've seen Deus Ex Mankind Divided higher than PUBG at the same settings. I don't know why that is. Anyway, I played Witcher, max settings, and it would still maintain the 60 frames per second cap there. Battlefield 1, high settings, and even 100 frames per second. So as you can see there, at high settings, you're able to get around the 100 frames per second. If you want to get up towards the 144 frames you need to max out that 144Hz display, you probably want to go down to medium. But as you can see with Fortnite, I was pretty much getting 144 frames to 138. It's very close. So, and that's at high settings. So gaming beast in an ultra premium thin package Gets hot underneath, it is a bit loud, but they're the prices you pay for something so thin and light, but a great gaming experience with that beautiful buttery smooth display and nice high frame rates at nice detail. It is a real joy to game with this thing. So just watch my live gameplay now and look at the telemetry in the top left hand corner and I'll explain a bit more about the thermals. Catch you in the next one. Tally ho. Fortnite. We're playing Fortnite, high settings, 1080p. Now keep an eye on the telemetry in the top left hand corner. You can see GPU 90 degrees now, CPU is 89 degrees. The GPU is not running flat stick. I mean, it can go up to 1500 or whatever. So even more than that. So it's not running full speed. The CPU is running at 34 watts. Keep an eye on that watts. You can see it's running at 3.9 gigahertz. See how many watts it's producing, like 30 watts there. Watch that sort of creep down as it gets a bit warmer. The temperatures are okay now. We've got 85 on CPU, 90 on GPU. Let's go somewhere where I'm not going to get killed straight away, at least, so I can at least explain what's happening here. As you can see, that wattage is going down for the CPU. And that's how it controls its thermals. It doesn't throttle this. So to throttle, the CPU does throttle actually a bit. Like it's not full speed. Like the GPU could run a bit faster than this. 1200 is not like right at the top of its limit there. But the CPU doesn't really throttle. But what will happen is the amount of watts it produces or uses will decrease over time. So it's 35 watts now and we're at 3.5 gigahertz. This runs at 2.2, the CPU, so anything over 2.2 is not considered throttling. Of course, we're in boost now, so when you actually are over 2.2, it is in boost. It will throttle the boost, if you'd like to say that, but it doesn't throttle below its base clock, and that's the most important thing. And it doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't wildly fluctuate. Can I get down there? Or do I die going down there? I'm not sure. Yeah, I might just camp up here, see if I can nail someone for me. Alright, now, let's have a look. Look-see. So as you can see, the wattage is going down from 45 it was before. So it's not going at 4 gigahertz or whatever. But anything over 2.2, as I said, is not throttling. But you can see the GPU is ramping down a little bit, okay? It's not 100% full, but this is, 120 frames per second. And it doesn't really get any worse than this. So it's pretty consistent. So because it doesn't throttle, you don't get those wild up and downs and micro lags and stuff like that. So it's really good. I wouldn't say it gets 100% maximum out of its system, like say the Aero. The GPU would be going flat stick just about, and the CPU using the same pretty much parts would be nearly 3.9 all the time. Every now and then it would go down to 3.5, but the GPU would be 1400, 1500, like. So, bear that in mind that the Aero has a little bit better cooling than this. Of course, this is my one sample size of unit here. Obviously, if you sample thousands of them, you're going to get different results, because this may have just a bad paste job, who knows, or it may have a good one. I don't know what is typical of a Razer, but that also goes for the GigaByte. That might add a good paste job, and some may throttle. But the GigaByte is thicker. You got to remember that too. This is like 17.3 millimeters. So 17.3 millimeters, we're talking, let's see, where are you? That's pretty much XPS 15. It's amazing you get this amount of performance Oh, what a shot. It's amazing you get this amount of performance out of something so thin and it doesn't actually thermal throttle. All right, you can say the GPU's throttling down a bit, but it's still, what, 120 frames per second, high settings. Fortnite, I know Fortnite's not the most demanding. If you want to get the constant 144 frames per second on most games, you probably would want to go medium high-ish, around those sort of settings there. Let's get action. I want a bit of action now. I didn't want to die straight away, but I want a bit of action now. It's a great game. I mean, it is a bit loud, but what gaming laptop isn't loud? I don't know one that isn't loud. It can get toasty underneath too. Like, it got up to 53 degrees underneath. So you're not going to have this on your lap. I'll just measure the temperature now. What's that, 37 there? I'll just measure there. 45 there, and underneath will be 50 something. I know for a fact. 39 around there. 25 there. Yeah, so it's just obviously the center bit where the GPU and CPU is. Yeah, 42. In the middle, underneath, yeah, 50 up to 54 degrees I think I got. So you're not having it on your lap. You're not gonna. You don't want it on your lap anyway, because you'll probably block the vent. So anyway, that's it. You can see with 35 watts, yeah, that's about right. With 30% CPU usage, that's pretty much how it games. Some games will go to 25 watts, some will go to 35 watts. It will not keep a consistent 45 watt, but that's how you control the thermals. So nothing defies the laws of physics. So, you know, if you were to go into the XPS 15 and reduce the amount of watts on the CPU, you know, you probably wouldn't throttle then. So yeah, anyway, catch you next one. Woo!